5,000 kilometers on snow, ice, gravel, mud and tarmac. From 20 degrees below to 40 above. At breakneck speed every metre of the way. The teams and drivers wring every last scrap of performance out of their million-euro cars, walking a knife edge between overcautious and over the edge. This is what it takes to become World Rally Champions. But for one top team, this year is not just going to be a battle for glory, they face a fight for survival. The World Rally Championship is big money motorsport, second only to Formula One. For the car manufacturers who spend tens of millions to take part, only the winners really see the benefits. 3 out of 6 big-name manufacturers pulled out of the sport last year. Some are now wondering if Subaru could be next. The team has enjoyed enormous success in the past, but it's 3 years since their last championship title. And the pressure for success is now greater than ever. This is the story of one extraordinary year with the Subaru World Rally team.
It's going to be a hell of a season.
It's the final day of testing for the team's new car before the first rally of the season at Monte Carlo in just 3 weeks' time. The team is fine-tuning a new version of the Impreza World Rally car that has evolved over the last 12 years. They've redesigned hundreds of components and spent months testing all over Europe in a search for improved performance. At the centre of everything, as always, is their star driver, Norwegian Petter Solberg. Petter's one of the top 3 drivers in the world. A millionaire, a perfectionist, and a workaholic.
For me, motorsport is 24 hours a day. I'm loving it, and this is everything for me. It actually comes before my family, and I know it. It's not nice to say, but that's how it is.
Over hundreds of kilometres of testing, Petter's feedback has been a crucial part of improving this year's new car. And he's hoping that it's going to turn around his fortunes. Petter was world champion with Subaru in 2003. Since then, a combination of mistakes, technical problems and bad luck has left him trailing his rivals.
We have had too much bad luck, but this year it's our year. We're gonna be world champion, and I think everybody's gonna work very hard to get it back again.
Back in England, Petter's team boss is a man equally obsessed with winning. Since the team began in 1989, David Lapworth has made the Subaru brand synonymous with success in rallying.
To get value out of a motorsport programme, you need to be seen to be winners. You don't have to win every rally, but you have to keep your strike rate such that you're always perceived to be in the frame, you're always perceived to be a leading team.
David has a budget of €50 million a year and the facilities of one of Britain's biggest motorsport companies at his disposal. Today, he's getting the latest reports from testing. He spent €5 million of last year's budget on developing the new car, so he's anxious that it will deliver results. Down in the workshops, his mechanics are more worried about simply getting the new car ready in time.
Well, we'll have to solve.
The 3 cars for Monte Carlo are due to be shipped out by the end of the day. But John McLean, chief technician on Petter's car, is having a parts crisis.
There's lots of small components and bits and pieces that we're waiting on, and it's slowly coming together. I mean, everybody from every department is flat out to get the bits to us.
With just hours to go until those empty trucks outside need to be loaded and hit the road, this car is missing something rather vital: its engine. So how does one of the world's biggest and most successful rally teams find itself in a race just to get to the start line? The survival of a world rally team depends more than anything else on their ability to turn one of these into one of these. The rules state that world rally cars must be based on a current model 4-seater road car, and that at least 25,000 of them must have been built for sale. It's this close relationship between the road car and the rally car that makes it so worthwhile for Subaru to spend €50 million a year of their marketing budget on their rally team. They're both high-performance, four-wheel drive cars, but the difference between a sports saloon car and a world rally car is reflected in their price tags. To really appreciate the differences, you need the help of a top professional driver. 26-year-old Chris Atkinson is Australia's hottest young rally driver. This year he'll be fighting for a permanent place with the Subaru team, which has a reputation for turning young drivers into world champions. So what do you get for 40 grand? First, you get a turbocharged 2.5-litre 300 horsepower engine. You get reliability, ABS, traction control, four-wheel drive, and a nice stereo.
My mum had a WRX when I was at school, and it used to be quite cool to turn up in that, and all the guys would be jealous of that.
And Chris can do a lap of this 3-kilometre test track in 1 minute 38 seconds. So, what do you get for €630,000? First, a secret weapon called launch control.
We don't have to use the clutch, it automatically engages and we can just take off straight away, and it manages the level of grip and controls the slip.
Which means it starts like a rocket. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It makes the road car look like your granny's driving.
I think the starts in these things are the most impressive. You touch the throttle and it's just gone.
The rally car has a standard Subaru Boxer engine, rebuilt to racing specs, optimised for torque and acceleration rather than top speed, so that rocket thrust is available whenever you want it.
And that's where you make time in rallying. You need the torque to respond between the corners, and then you can push. And those little short bursts of speed is where the time comes.
You also get a €100,000 semi-automatic gearbox, which can change gear in 10 milliseconds. Add to that racing suspension, weight reduction, tyres that cost €700 a piece, and you've got a car that sticks to tarmac like glue and tears up this track a massive 8 seconds quicker than the road car. And of course, it can also do this, this, and this. So, in their quest to extract every last scrap of performance out of every single component, these guys will always use every last day, hour, and minute available to fine-tune their machinery before each rally. But if you're not in it, you can't win it. "1,400 kilometers away, temperatures are dropping. Snow is falling, and the stage is set for one of the oldest and most challenging rallies in the world. Rally has evolved since the first Monte Carlo rally. In 1911, 20 motoring enthusiasts had up to 7 days to reach Monaco from 6 different start points. In the 1920s, the first high-speed time runs, called stages, were introduced to help decide the winner. Before long, professional drivers started wrecking the time stages before events, which led to the invention of pace notes.
Easy right. Dead straight for about 400 yards. Hairpin.
Navigators became co-drivers, and thanks to pace notes and steadily improving car and engine design, speeds rocketed. After some nasty accidents with the infamous Group B cars of the 1980s, the World Rally Championship now has a tight technical formula designed to restrict power to 300 horsepower and keep the spectacle within safe limits. This year's Monte Carlo Rally includes 366 kilometres of time stages over 3 days. The drivers must also complete 970 kilometres of road sections between the stages and the main base, Service Park in Monaco. It's 2 days before the rally begins, and the tension is mounting.
Welcome to Monte Carlo.
The cars have arrived and the team is setting up its service area. Engineering rooms, workshops, hospitality tents, kitchens with food, spares, computers, cables, lighting, everything they could possibly need for a weekend of rallying. Their big rivals are within easy spying distance, as are 41 privateer teams, varying in size and budget from quite professional to one man and his hatchback. After months of preparation, it's finally time to unveil the new car. And this year's lineup of drivers. Petter and Chris are joined by French driver Stéphane Sarrazin, another young talent hoping to make it to the top level with Subaru. He's got 4 rallies with the team this year to prove what he can do.
For me, it's the second year with Subaru, so it's fantastic for me. Big opportunity, and I know the car, I know the mechanics, engineer, so it's very good.
Thursday morning sees the team up in the mountains for Shakedown, an important 4-hour practice session before the rally begins tomorrow. The drivers will do multiple runs on a timed 10-kilometre stage to prepare themselves and their cars for the unique challenges of this rally.
The temperatures typically are just around zero, and the difference of a couple of degrees can be massive between the stage being dry and damp or being icy and treacherous. And of course, if it snows and it catches you out, you could be on completely the wrong tyre and lose minutes.
The Monte is run on tarmac roads, but in the blink of an eye, they can change from dry to wet to ice or even snow. 4 different surfaces that demand different driving techniques, different suspension settings, and different tyres.
To the crash, 150, very slippy, full ice after this corner.
It's going to be a mad, bad 350-kilometre charge down narrow alpine roads. Make a mistake, and you face either a stone wall or a massive drop off a cliff. All this makes the Monte an extreme test of man and machine. Petter's slow on his first run.
Difficult conditions, incredible. So much ice around, and this morning it was actually just wet in the morning. Then it's turned around to be full ice, so you can never trust these conditions here in the mountains in Monte Carlo.
After each run, the drivers and engineers get together to discuss improvements they can make to the car.
Really slippy up there. It's almost sheet ice everywhere. So they're really struggling for grip and traction. So we've gone a lot softer, and we're going to see if it works.
On everybody. That's how the feeling of confidence is. Confidence and traction. That's the main thing. If you don't have the full confidence, you lose a hell of a lot of time. But we're doing some big steps here now.
Most important will be Petter's tyre choice for each set of stages. Thanks to the wildly unpredictable conditions, the teams are allowed a wider range of different tyre designs here than at any other rally. For the ice, there's a special winter tyre, which can be fitted with metal studs around the edge. For wet or slushy conditions, there's a heavily grooved intermediate tyre. For dry tarmac, there's slicks. These have lighter grooves, leaving as much rubber as possible in contact with the road. But whatever tyre you choose, it's going to be a compromise.
We have to think slick or intermediate.
Maybe too much, no?
I think,
Sooner or later, the drivers will face dry tarmac on winter tyres or black ice on slicks.
Monte Carlo has everything. Snow, ice, gravel, tarmac, dry, wet, everything. And normally we have the wrong tires.
Petter has retired here 3 times out of 5 attempts, but this year he's determined not to get left behind by his 2 main championship rivals. The favourite is current world champion Frenchman Sébastien Loeb. He's driving a Citroën Zara run by the Belgian Kronos team. Loeb loves Monte Carlo. He's won here 3 times in 4 attempts. But he's playing down his chances.
On ne peut pas trop comparer avec les autres voitures, tout le monde met des autres pneus, tout le monde essaye plein de choses. Donc on n'a pas trop de références. Pour nous, ça va. J'espère que ça ira bien demain aussi.
Petter's other main rival is Flying Finn Marcus Gronholm. It's the former champion's first rally for Ford, and he's liking his new car.
I'm really optimistic and what we can do with the car, so it feels good.
Of the big 3, Gronholm is the fastest in the Shakedown. But tomorrow will be the true test of how the rivals compare. The teams head back to Monaco to analyse their data and finalise their strategy for the first stages of the rally.
For the moment, it's the best guess that we can make. I don't think we need to make it.
So we know Citroën and Peugeot had the full stud inside today. But the first run, after my opinion, was more actually full stud.
Anyway, we'll make that decision obviously in the morning.
Just to see the trend.
At the Subaru team meeting, Petter would happily debate tyre choices all night.
There's no more discussion because obviously we could get the guys all packed up.
But with 20 years of World Rally experience, David is very much in charge of strategy, and he won't be deciding anything until the overnight weather reports come in.
We're ready to have the meeting in the morning at 6:20.
Well on it.
In 2.5 hours' time, the team will get their first chance to see how their new car matches up to their rivals.
First test of the year. A lot of new things, so we have to make sure that everything works. It will work.
But first, David must now decide what tyres to give his drivers for the first set of 3 stages.
We're getting the weather reports back from the stages that say they're in quite nice condition. There's a little bit of ice and frost around and so on, but they are perhaps drier and cleaner of ice and snow than you would have expected 48 hours ago.
The first 3 stages are some of the highest in the rally. They're also 77 kilometres away, a 2-hour drive.
It was 6 o'clock in the morning when those reports were all made. We have to make the tyre choice at 6:30, and the cars don't go into the stages for at least another couple of hours.
All the teams spy on each other to find out what tyres their rivals are using. So David already knows that Loeb is going out on studded winter tyres. but he's decided to gamble on a more ambitious strategy for his star driver. He's putting Petter on slick tyres. The idea is that across all 3 stages, Petter will be able to gain more time on the long dry sections than he loses on the icy patches. David's gambling on what exactly happens with the weather over the next 2 hours as the drivers make their way into the mountains. With just 10 minutes to go before the first stage is due to start, there's a problem.
Go ahead, Phil. Over.
The road is completely blocked for about 1.5 k's after the start. There's no way to make it on time.
Petter and his co-driver, Phil Mills, are stuck in traffic and are struggling to get to the start of the stage on time. It seems that the Monte Carlo rally is too popular for its own good. Finally, Sebastian Loeb gets the Monte Carlo rally underway. 13 minutes behind schedule, Petter's up next.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. 6 left after, open, 6 right left, 100, 6 right left, 60, and 4 left minus, hard long, tightens a bit, opens 40.
The team follows Petter's progress with a GPS tracking system. They can compare his times every few kilometres with his rivals. Petter's really struggling. Since dawn, the temperature's actually dropped and a harsh frost has made the stage extremely icy. Loeb makes light work of it on his studded tyres. Petter has to tiptoe on his slicks.
It was full ice all the way up through the hairpins.
Petter finishes the stage 11th, which turns out to be equal last place. The traffic problems meant that only 11 cars made it to the first stage. The other 42 entrants have been sent back to Monaco and awarded Petter's time. Petter now needs much drier conditions for his tyre strategy to pay off.
6:56, Carlo.
On stage 2 of the Monte Carlo rally, Subaru's Petter Solberg already has 2 minutes to make up. The stage is drier, but not dry enough. This time, Gronholm is fastest on intermediate tyres. Petter's still struggling. David's slick tyre gamble is misfiring badly.
We underestimated just how frosty it would get, and our choice was too optimistic, so we lost a little bit of time in there.
Stage 3 is looking much drier. Petter can now push hard and try to get back some of that lost time. Or can he?
La Spéciale 3, elle était annulée. They decided to cancel the stage 3 because there were only 11 cars in the rally.
Yep.
Why didn't they cancel 2 then?
Yeah, I know they should have, but they might.
The cancelled stage turns a bad tyre choice into a disaster.
The way they're thinking. But that's why I wanted to Petter. Yeah.
But David's not giving up. He's putting in an official protest.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's helping us though, Phil. Just what we're trying to prove to them is the only fair thing to do is to cancel the times from 1 and 2.
By the time the drivers get back to Monaco, the dust has settled. Petter and Phil get the verdict. Subaru's protest has been rejected.
You can imagine how annoyed we are. We dropped so much time on the first 2, which we knew we were going to do, and take it all back again in stage 3. So the plan was working perfectly, but then it was cancelled. So it's quite a big mess now.
At lunchtime service, the team is allowed 30 minutes to work on each car, while Petter checks in with the bosses.
Just put 100% ice the whole stage.
David and his engineers need a new tyre strategy for this afternoon's 3 stages. Lewis Moyer is on his bike, spying on Ford and Kronos, all part of his role as sporting director.
We can see what Marcus does. We can see what Marcus does.
Maybe not Chris.
Hi, Lewis. Slick. slick. Okay, thank you.
This time, David's going more cautious than his rivals. He needs Petter to get his confidence back, so he's giving him intermediates. Back in the mountains, the local gendarmes have cleared the roads, and the full field of 53 cars is finally unleashed.
Extra long, 18.
Petter's confidence returns. He can finally start pushing and working his way back up the field.
Long, 14.
He's on the pace, the new car feels great, Petter is back in the groove. But the final stage of the day brings more drama.
He's stopped. He's stopped in the early part of the stage.
It's not moved.
No, the yellow hasn't moved, so...
It was odds on that at least one driver would get caught out on the ice today. But no one dreamed it would be this one.
Putain de merde.
He won't be getting out of there in a hurry.
Is it April the 1st?
Rally teams don't normally celebrate each other's misfortunes, but with Sebastian Loeb, they make an exception.
We're getting quite excited because Sebastian Loeb never stops. Maybe once a year. And now he's done on the first event of this year. And that's good.
He went off in a very icy, or something, icy braking. It's terrible conditions now. I really hate this. I have been driving like my grandmother.
Loeb's crash leaves Gronholm leading the rally. Second fastest on the final stage puts Petter up to 7th overall. But the biggest shock of the day comes from a Monte Carlo rookie. Going with the safest tyre choice all day has put Chris Atkinson in 2nd place. He can't quite believe it himself.
It's not bad. Petter did a 15-17. That's right, man.
The 75-kilometre drive back to Monaco is officially part of the rally. It must be driven at normal road speeds, but there's a time limit. Loeb's Citroën is going to be late. But it's not all over yet. So-called Super Rally rules mean that if the car can be repaired, Loeb can take a 5-minute time penalty and rejoin the rally tomorrow.
Le rallye n'est pas fini, le championnat non plus, sûrement pas, c'est long, tout est possible, on peut remonter très haut, c'est un beau challenge qu'on s'est fixé, bon, tout est possible.
Meanwhile, Subaru now have problems of their own. Petter stopped at the side of the road with a leak from his oil cooler. He and Phil have just 40 minutes to fix the leak and drive over 40 kilometres back to Monaco. For every minute they're late, they'll get a time penalty.
How long have we got to work on it? He's got a half an hour to work on it.
The team can't go out and help him. All they can do is apply their brains and their computers to the problem.
How can you bypass the pipes completely? What about at the bottom? What can you do? They come from the sandwich plate. What can you do? Maybe you can join the two pipes at the top with the ALS pipe, like the Jubilee clip. You will lose it. Your cooler won't go straight to the block. No.
Emergency surgery seems possible.
You can do this.
You can do it or not?
It's access is off. See what he's doing.
No, he wants to see what he's doing.
Petter and Phil are instructed how to use a piece of piping to bypass the leaking oil cooler.
Once you've got that clip on, you need to make sure those hoses are not going to hit you.
It's a risky operation. If the emergency bypass doesn't work, the engine could drain of oil and be permanently damaged. But it's a risk that David would rather take than recovery and a 5-minute penalty.
Mind yourself, because it could blow oil.
There's now less than half an hour to get back to Monaco.
Good rev. Don't rev it. Okay. Well, there's no point then. He might as well retire. Because if he doesn't drive at a good speed, he's not going to get back in time.
David needs Petter to drive flat out to make it back on time.
What's the average in this to make this?
47 kilometers.
We just need to not wreck the engine. Rally is 5 minutes, wrecking the engine.
I know.
Petter must keep one eye on the road and the other on his oil pressure.
Then he's just got to drive on the oil light. And the minute the oil light comes on, just forget it. Because we don't want to damage the engine. That's still got points.
No, it's okay, it's fine.
So?
I'll speak to you Monday.
Now the pipes come off.
Petter's lost oil pressure and stopped again.
It hasn't got any oil pressure. The engine stopped on its own.
They've used all their spare oil, so there's no point in trying to fix the car again. It will have to be recovered.
Well, you tried your best. That's
Give me a card and we'll get you dinner when you're back.
Okay. Some of that shortly for you. See you in a bit.
Now Petter and Phil will have to take a penalty. Maybe worse.
There's obviously a risk that that's done some damage to the engine. We won't know till we get the car back here, which will be another hour or so.
If it needs an engine replacement, which we're not allowed to do within the regulations, then we'll have to retire the car, and that's the end of Petter's rally.
2 hours later, Petter's car is finally back at the service park. Now the team can see for themselves what went wrong. The oil cooler has a crack where the oil leaked.
It went in between one of the rows.
It looks like a straightforward oil leak. We just have to hope that it's not done any damage to the engine.
The cooler can be replaced. It's going to be much harder to work out if the engine has sustained damage because the rules don't allow it to be opened up.
We can look inside the engine through the spark plug hole and see that there's no problem in the top there. We can also poke around and look around from the bottom end. We can't get into the engine, so we can't check things like bearings and so on, but we can refill the engine with oil, change the oil filter and everything, start it up and see if all the oil pressure data looks normal, and if it is, we've got a good chance of carrying on.
It's an agonising wait for Petter and his engineer.
I will get the phone call from the team later, and I think they have to work very hard with the car to see what they can do anyway, but hopefully they can sort it out, but I think it's maybe a little bit difficult again.
Eventually, the diagnosis is announced.
The engine's completely seized, so we can't change the engine. You can't pull it apart to have a look or do anything, so no, that's the end of the rally for that car. We'll retire the car. We won't be continuing.
Okay.
So I send the paperwork down to the control.
Okay.